On June 25th, 1974, Ku Klux Klan pulled shotguns on me. They took me, threw me in a car, drove me to an isolated area and began to beat me. Here it is, I'm in prison. There's no record of my arrest, my trial, or my conviction.
We start off and just, can you give us your name and how long you've been down?
My name is Joseph Bivins. They call me JoJo. I've been down a little bit over 50 years.
Where are you from originally?
Richmond, California, Cocoa County.
What's one of your favorite childhood memories? Let's start at the beginning, as far back as you can remember.
My favorite childhood memory is being there with my family. My stepfather, he raised me. He was a good dude. I appreciate everything he did for me. And that's really where my childhood lied, with him, until after my mother went to prison, I ended up pretty much living on my own. From the 8 years old, I stayed with my grandmother, who was an alcoholic, and I had to take care of her. From there, I got into stealing, robbing, and as I grew with that mentality of not clear thinking. I was just calling myself surviving. I never really understood the magnitude of which my crimes that I committed would take on not just myself, my family, but also the community. And it spiraled from there. I got into the dope game. I sold dope. I went to Youth Authority and came out with a master plan to sell more dope. My downfall came when I moved back to Richmond. And in Richmond, they had a gang of corrupt police. They was Ku Klux Klan members that had actually infiltrated the Richmond Police Department. It was known as the Richmond Cowboys. That's when this all started. On June 25th, 1974, on my way from a movie with my girlfriend, my cousin and her boyfriend, Ku Klux Klan pulled shotguns on me. They took me, threw me in a car, drove me to an isolated area and began to beat me. I don't know what language, but they kept using N-word. Ninja, you gonna tell us you did it. Ninja, you did it. If you don't, you're gonna spend the rest of your life in prison. From that point on, I just didn't say nothing because I knew their reputation. I know they had killed quite a few people. So therefore, I just kept quiet. They took me back to the Richmond City Jail where the beatings continued. I never had a warrant for my arrest or an affidavit for my removal from the streets. They just took me. They beat me. My luck began when one of the guys there heard what was going on and called out to me. And I told him who I was. But they beat me. I mean, it got to the point where I don't know how many days they beat me, but they beat me for days. It would get to the point where I would be in the fetal position. I would have my hands covering my privates, but they would continue to kick me in my butthole with their pointed boots because this is what they wore. When it got out that I was in there, my family come looking for me. They moved me to Richmond City Jail, where they took me and put me inside of a room that was so hot that I had to lay on the floor in order to breathe. I breathed up. I don't know how long I had been there, how many days I had been there before an old man seen me, and I told him I needed a doctor. And it got to the point where they would defecate in my food. They would do things that were just unspeakable, and I don't understand how another grown man would do that to an individual, especially when I was a kid. They held me for 43 days until I finally went before their tribunal. I don't call it a court, it was just what they did. The same people that took my ancestors' freedom, beat them, chained them, was the same people that the descendants of those who did it to me. And from there, I came to prison. Once I got to prison, my mindset, they had already gave me a mindset. Tracy was DVI, or better known as Gladiator School at the time. And believe me, everybody there was trying to become a gladiator. And that was my conditioning. That's where my conditioning started. Not to say, do, or remember anything that wasn't dictated to me. My mindset there was not to become animalistic, as with the tendencies that would have become a culture in that institution. I survived on pure D luck in the Word of God. The individuals there had become so animalistic that when the BGF decided to have a split, part of them became vanguards. However, before they broke away, they had secretly did recruiting for theirs. BGF caught word of what was going on, and they secretly recruited. So therefore, I was stuck in a war where no one knew who their enemies were. They was even trying to force recruits. I couldn't do anything but try to survive. God was in my corner. I didn't hurt anybody, and I wasn't murdered myself. But this is what my first mindset and my conditioning began in prison. Anything else? Come on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Any messages that you have to anybody on the outside, the youth or your former self, your younger self, any messaging that you have?
The shoes that I abandoned is not a good fit for anyone. People should think about the consequences of their action. And for those who have no idea of what criminal activity would get you, I would like to give you an instance. Rather a story that I won't say I didn't witness, but it was a time when they used what they call pipe knives. Pipe knives is a piece of pipe by yay long. They flatten it and peel it apart and sharpen it. So it would make what people started calling bone crushers and one-hitter quitters. When you pin down, and every time a person is stabbed, you can hear the concrete up under a chip, that's trauma. And then not so much as you being lonely and missing your family, you are alone when you experience this trauma because you can't talk to it about anyone, not even your so-called new friend. Because the man that did it gets caught, then your new friend gonna say, well, he was talking about it. These are traumas that manifest themselves that you got to take and swallow and hold within yourself. And very few men were able to cope with that. Some committed suicide, some went crazy. Very few survived and continued. Some got lucky and went to the hole and didn't have to contend with what was going on. Racism wasn't just on the streets, it was in prisons. Now they shoot kids with block guns. Then they use shotguns. I've been shot in the head, pepper sprayed all between my legs. But I'm still here. I've lived the separation of the BGF. I've outlived the kickback of the Solidarity 13. Juneteenth in San Quentin, a mass riot on the upper yard where over 600 inmates was going at it at one time. I'm a survivor, and not by me being tough, by the grace of God. Because he knew that one day I was going to have a story to tell. Like I said, I'm here not for anything I've done, but just for what I am, and that was black, poor and black, unable. I went through 6 attorneys. I'm attorney of record now. I do my own legal work. I appeared just before you came. I appeared in court myself. This is something that I'm still up against in that county because I'm not a threat to the community. I'm a threat to racism and bigotry that's in my county that's so flagrant and deeply embedded. It's not just police that people should worry about because every time you read it, these police corrupt, racist police, and they remove them, but they come back. I wrote the Board of Prison Terms and explained to them, you're using tainted evidence of the Ku Klux Klan and information that you received to deny me parole. How is that fair? And it's not. You have men with limited educations that are trying to study law. We try to help each other, but it's still always that block. I wrote hundreds of letters to organizations and tried to seek help. But when they would check my county, they would tell them it's no such case. Here it is, I'm in prison. There's no record of my arrest, my trial, or my conviction. But they still persist to hold me. because I won't conform to what they want me to conform to. I did not kill these people. They know I didn't, but they want me to confess, and this is something I'm not going to do. The man was my friend. He wasn't my best friend, but he was my friend still in all. And his family should know that the police had a lot to do with it. It was eyewitnesses to the crime. But since they had beat me, they had to do something with me. So this is where I ended up. Anything else?
Again, like, this is a platform for you to say whatever it is that you want to say to the people and get whatever you want out. So if there's anything else that you feel necessary to say, please go ahead.
Understand that I'm not tribalistic. I'm from Richmond, but I hang out with pretty much everybody. I got love for my little brothers. And I want them to stand on my shoulders, and I hope that they do, because they can be guaranteed that I will hold them up and hold them accountable. I'm not violent, but I will get on their case when I catch them doing wrong, won't I? And I love them all. But people have to understand that in order for they to do something about this, they must do something in society, because society is where the mindset begins. And if they don't help educate, fight bigotry, racism, then this is going to continue.
Once again, could you just say your name and spell it out for us one time?
My name is Joseph Bivins. Joseph, Joseph, Bivins, Bivins, B63111, right here in Folsom, California. If anybody want to get in contact with me, I'm up for it. I got stories to tell. I'm trying to write a book. I've written youth programs. I did the whole 9 yards. And I'm willing to give back, because what I do should be a ripple effect of change. The youngsters ought to know, when we come back to the community, we are messengers of hope. We're not trying to do nothing else. We have hope. I have hope for my little brothers, my older brothers, all of them. And I appreciate you giving me the chance to put that out there.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.